And this is Lydia with the Clerk of the Board's office. And Member Kearney, please feel free to start the meeting.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we were going to wait for Member Camera or not. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We're glad you could make it, and so I guess we have just one item today. Did we need to call roll?
Yes, we need to call roll to establish the quorum.
All right, let's go ahead and start with that.
Perfect. Members Jacobs?
Present.
Jansen?
Present.
Kearney?
Present.
Pristupa? Member Pristupa? Okay, and I've unmuted you. Thank you. I know you're here. And Member Pirovasilehi? Member Wilhelm?
You are now unmuted.
And Chair Kammerer? And I do see that he's on board, and I will register that as that he's present. Thank you, Member Kammerer. All righty. You do have a quorum.
All right. Do we have Member Camera here yet? Is he connected?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I'll go ahead and turn the time back over to him then.
Okay. Well, we just went through the roll call. It sounds like we've got a quorum. Looking at the agenda, this line item here is a little new to me. It says pledge. What is this all about?
Oh, that's a Pledge of Allegiance, and it's completely up to your preferences whether or not you'd like to perform the Pledge of Allegiance to begin the meeting.
Okay. Well, that's something new, and I actually like it. If this is okay with my fellow board members, let's go ahead and knock this out. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We there?
And we are there, and I can go ahead and read the announcement if you like.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, perfect. This meeting is live streamed and temporarily closed to in-person public participation. The clerk's office is in the process of hosting hybrid public meetings that will provide board members and members of the public with the option to participate in the meeting either in person or remotely. Thank you for your patience and support. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, dial 916-875-2501 to provide your contact information. When the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, callers will be contacted by phone and transferred into the meeting to make their public comment. Written comments are always accepted. Please feel free to send your email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net, and your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And at your leisure, Chair, we are ready for item number 1. I can read it into the record when you're ready.
Okay, if you would, please.
Okay, item number 1 is informational. So it's information relating to Senate Bill 9, SB 9, requirements to allow 2 primary dwellings on 1 parcel, provide for ministerial processing of 2-lot tentative parcel maps, and to address expirations of tentative map approvals. Again, it's informational. And we do have Principal Planner Chris Bahuli on board.
Okay, are we ready to start?
And our presenter is pulling up the slide presentation. Bear with us, please. Perfect. And Chris, are you able to hear us? See that his mic's unmuted. We may be having some technical difficulties on his end as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now, Lydia?
Yes, perfectly, Chris. Thank you.
Okay, I apologize about that. Good evening, CPAC members. Chris Pahuli, Principal Planner. I will be providing the staff presentation for this informational item, which provides an overview of Senate Bill 9 and also the county's approach for the implementation of this new state law. Next slide, please. In September, Governor Newsom signed SB 9, which has three main components. First is that it allows by right development of two homes or primary dwellings on a single lot within a single-family residential zone. Second, that property owners can split one lot into two lots. And third, that tentative maps can be approved for 4 years rather than 3. I should note that a property owner can do both, splitting a lot into two and placing two homes on each of those created lots. So conceivably, a property which normally would normally able to build one home on it could now conceivably have 4 homes on it. All of these provisions are exempt from CEQA, have certain requirements that must be met, and became effective on January 1, 2022. On December 21st, 2021, the Board of Supervisors introduced county code amendments and updates to the zoning code's user guide to begin processing requests under SB 9. During the hearing, staff committed to attending all of the CPAC meetings and Planning Commission to discuss these new state laws. And this evening's presentation is I believe our 4th CPAC meeting to talk about these new state laws. Next slide, please. So in order for a property owner to take advantage of these new laws, there is a 2-part locational and zoning test that must be met. The first part of the test is that properties must be located in a single-family residential zoning district. This requirement does not mean that all zoning districts that allow for single-family development are allowed, but rather that zoning districts that are primarily for the development of single-family homes. County staff has concluded that this provision only applies to our RD1 through RD10 zoning districts, as well as potentially properties located in special planning areas and neighborhood preservation areas that have a single-family residential underlying zone. In addition to being located on a property zoned for single-family residential use, the property must also be located in an urbanized area or urban cluster as identified by the U.S. Census Bureau. The map on this graphic highlights eligible areas. I should note that the map is based on 2010 census data, and we are expecting a revised map in late 2022. However, for now, we will be using this map to determine areas that are eligible for SB 9 processing. So what does that mean for the Antelope community? The community is located within an urbanized area as depicted on this map. But in order for a property to take advantage of these provisions, they would have to be zoned appropriately, again, to take advantage of the provisions. Next slide, please. So in addition to these locational and zoning requirements, there are some other key provisions of the law that I want to mention. The requests for 2 homes or lot splits are to be handled administratively and again are not subject to CEQA. Requests can be denied, but only if the building official finds that public health and safety would be compromised. It's going to be a very high bar to reach to be able to deny one of these urban lot split or second primary home projects. There are very limited conditions that can be applied to projects. Those are pretty much limited to easements with no off-site improvements or dedications, and parking unless they are located in specific areas. So we can require parking for these projects. However, if they are located within a half-mile radius of a major transit stop, they are exempt from parking requirements. Requests can, however, be conditioned to prohibit short-term rentals of the properties, and the county does intend to do that. The laws also drastically change the required development standards that the county has codified in our zoning code. For example, the county cannot require side or rear yard setbacks of more than 4 feet, and for parcel splits, the minimum lot size can be as small as 1,200 square feet. I should note that a key provision of the law relating to lot splits is that a property owner must sign an affidavit stating that they will live in one of the properties for 3 years. I should also mention that with the lot splits, in addition to those minimum size requirements, the 2 resulting parcels have to be roughly equal in size. The law actually states that there cannot be a greater than 40 to 60% differential between the 2 parcels that are created through the urban lot split. Next slide, please. I now want to walk through how staff is anticipating lot split requests will be handled. I also want to note that this is specific to lot split requests. For the 2 homes on 1 lot, those requests will move straight to a building permit process with no additional planning review or conditioning of those projects. So again, for the lot split requests, staff has developed an SB9 application for parcel maps, which is on our website and available now to potential applicants. We are charging the same fee as charged for other parcel maps. Projects will be subject to our project review committee process to analyze the parcel maps, as is done for other ministerial entitlements and other parcel maps. And then based on the board direction from that December meeting that I mentioned, surrounding property owners and CPAC members will receive a courtesy notice of the applications when filed. That came up during the meeting with the board. The board wanted to make sure that property owners within a 500-foot radius of a urban lot split request, similar to parcel maps now, are notified. And again, they wanted to make sure that CPAC members were also notified. And so we are intending to push out a email to all CPAC members when there is an application filed for an urban lot split. Finally, the planning director will be the decision body for these SB9 parcel maps rather than the subdivision review committee, which is how all of the other parcel maps are handled. The appeal process will be very limited in scope. It would be considered by the Planning Commission doing business as the Board of Zoning Appeals, and it's likely that the only appeals that will be considered by the Board of Zoning Appeals will be in the instance where an applicant is contesting a condition, whether or not that condition can actually be applied. So it'll be, again, very limited in scope given the intent of this new state law. Next slide, please. So regarding requests to build 2 homes on 1 lot, the county is intending to initially use our recently approved accessory dwelling unit development standards, as they generally seem to track with the law. However, I should say that we are waiting for state guidance, which could change this approach. So this is due to state law not specifically stating a maximum size for the second home on the property, but indicates that a minimum size of 800 square feet has to be allowed. Therefore, the county's approach will be to cap the maximum size of the second home. The upshot is that one of the 2 homes, either an attached or detached home, could not be larger than 800 square feet or 1,000 square feet, depending on the bedroom count. And the applicant would have an option to apply for a discretionary special development permit to exceed the maximum size standards up to 1,200 square feet. So this is very similar to what you are seeing with the accessory dwelling unit laws that have gone into effect, where you still may see an accessory dwelling unit when it's a larger one, and they've requested a special development permit that is reviewed by the CPAC. Again, we may learn in the next few weeks and months that this approach is not consistent with the state direction. and we will make necessary adjustments to our development standards if that is the case. So for example, the state guidance may indicate that we cannot place a cap on the maximum size of that second primary. And if so, again, we will need to make changes to our development standards. Next slide, please. As I noted earlier, staff is working now to implement this new law and provide information to all of the CPACs. We plan on meeting with CPACs over the next 2 months. We also are going to be doing an informational session at the Planning Commission. Over the course of the next few months, we expect to receive guidance from the state on SB9 that may influence, as I just mentioned, zoning code changes related to development standards. We are thinking that a package may be necessary to incorporate all of these new changes, and if so, that package would need to work its way through the CPACs and onto the Planning Commission and Board. And then lastly, as I mentioned, you will also start to receive courtesy notices so that you are aware of lot splits that are being requested in Antelope. And so that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions about the law or about the county's implementation of it.
This is Member Jacobs. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. My question is this SB9 only pertaining to permits? Is there any consideration or rebates or whatever for the actual construction implementation?
There is not. Yeah, so this is just related to the kind of regulatory framework, if you will. So the ability to split single-family residential lots and to construct 2 homes on 1 lot, but there are not any financing mechanisms or anything along that line to support this.
Okay. And next question. It seems to be a lot of horizontal consideration. Anything, and I'm hearing the ratio of the smaller home versus the larger home as part of the consideration. And there are properties that border, I guess you would have to send someone out to appraise and assess if a second property, if there's enough room for a second dwelling on the property first. If there's not enough room, is there any consideration for vertical approval? In other words, a second story on a single family?
Yeah, so, excuse me, as I mentioned, the law does do away with some of our current development standards in our zoning code. So it requires it provides for minimum side and rear yard setbacks of 4 feet. So that is not currently what is in our zoning code, but now as projects move forward under this law, they will be able to place the homes in areas that are closer to their neighboring property line than is currently allowed. So that should allow for homes to be constructed on properties. In terms of going up, by using our development standards, so the law does have some specified standards. So as I mentioned, side and rear yard setbacks. However, when a standard is not specified in the law, we believe that we are able to use our current standards. And so front yard setbacks, we believe that we can still use because they're not mentioned in the state law. And height requirements, if we are using our ADU development standards, there is a height restriction in the ADU development standards. And so, again, we plan on following the state law where it's specific to development standards and then using our code where the state law is not specific.
Okay. Uh, just for my clarification, or my apologies, I promise this is my last question. You mentioned construction a lot. Is this bill targeting homeowners that have property with a single family dwelling that's already on it, but enough room for another dwelling to be built? Or are we talking vacant lots with just new properties added on?
Both.
Okay.
So if you have a vacant lot, you can construct 2 homes on it. Alternatively, if you have a vacant lot, as long as the provisions apply to you, you can split that vacant lot into 2 lots and build up to 2 homes on each of those lots. Now, when you do a lot split, as I mentioned, you have to sign an affidavit saying that you are going to live on one of those properties for 3 years. So that's on the vacant lots. If you're a homeowner or a property owner that has 1 home on 1 lot and you want to construct a second home on that lot, the bill also allows for that.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, this is member Jansen. Antelope has a lot of 2-story homes on pretty small lots. Not that anybody would necessarily jump out and do this, but per this law, could somebody knock down their house and replace it, essentially do a lot split and put 2 smaller 2-story homes on a previous single family lot or single home lot?
They may be able to. Again, there's some circumstances by which they might not be able to. So there are some prohibitions in the law about demolition. So if they are a homeowner on that lot and they wanted to demolish the home and split it and then build 2 homes on it, they could. If that home is a rental property, they would be prohibited from doing that.
If the original home was, but if the landowner was going to live in one of those lots or new
Correct.
home.
Yeah,
but I guess
even that wouldn't work. I mean, I guess it would depend on when they purchased the lot. I think there's a 3-year provision in the bill that says that if the home was, if they were to purchase the home, and if that home was used as a rental at any point during the previous 3 years, I believe they would be prohibited from demolishing that unit.
Right, and those clauses would help prevent a wealthy developer coming in and buying up a whole street, knocking them down, and creating double the houses in a short order.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there 2 other questions? One, there must be some constraints related to hooking up to infrastructure, water, electrical. If that's a challenge for a particular area.
That's right. So, there is.
Okay. And off the top of your head, I'm not looking for exact dollar amount unless you know it, but what is the cost of the permitting process to split a lot? Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, so the cost of doing a lot split is probably somewhere around the range of about $12,000 to $14,000.
Are those just the fees, or are you incorporating estimated, any architectural or planning?
Oh, I'm not including that at all. I'm just mentioning what are the planning fees associated with the cost of submitting an application.
And my last question, on the notification, do we currently receive a notice of? Is there what kind of events like this would currently trigger a notice to nearby residential property owners? Is there something similar to this, or is this a unique notice for?
This is going to be a bit unique. There are a couple of other ministerial permits that the county issues where we do provide notice to property owners. For example, our short-term rental permit program. When there's someone that gets a permit for a short-term rental, after that permit is issued, we provide notice to people within 300 feet so that they know that a property nearby will be used as an Airbnb, for example, or a VRBO. So that's the probably most similar to this process, because we would be providing notification to property owners about the application that's being filed. However, as I mentioned, this is a ministerial process. It's really almost administrative, just a kind of a check the box thing. And so we really are evaluating the project to make sure, as your question earlier alluded to, that there are no public health and safety concerns, that there's adequate infrastructure, that sort of thing. But it is not a discretionary permit, and so the ability to appeal the decision and have quite a bit of discussion about it is pretty limited in this case. So I would say that this is going to be a very unique notification process.
Thank you.
Yes, this is Member Jacobs again. The previous line of questioning was interesting. So on two dwellings, obviously there'll be two taxes per dwelling, or will it be lumped into one? In other words, and the best use, I guess the assumption is we're addressing the housing crisis needs by, if I'm not mistaken, SB 9 is meant to address that in order to create more housing.
Correct.
So with that scenario, a primary resident, the secondary...
Yeah, there will still be one property owner in the situation that you explained, where there's two homes on one lot. That would still be just one property owner, and that property owner would be the one responsible for paying the property taxes.
And under SB 9, are they required to? What's the requirement for the other tenant? Suddenly, that single-family homeowner is now becoming a property, I want to say a leasing agent or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they would be renting out that other home, or having a family member live in it. I mean, I think there's a lot of different scenarios that may play out with the second home on the lot. But again, the property owner on record would be the one that would be responsible for all of the property taxes related to that property.
Okay.
Well, if I may, Member Jansen, you could sell that second lot, couldn't you? Maybe I missed something.
Yeah, well, again, there's two different scenarios, right? Excuse me. So there is a lot split scenario, but if you do the lot split, absolutely, you could sell one property, you live on the other one. But in addition to the lot split, you're also able to build two homes on each lot. And so what I was mentioning is the scenario of the two homes on one lot.
Yeah,
and of course all this depends on the size of the lot. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you for your time.
I'll make a comment that I have some experience with rental properties that are single-family homes on the same lot. This isn't in California; it's in another state, and that jurisdiction allowed that construction to happen. So it's all four single properties are in that lot are owned by the same person. However, seeking financing of that property is a challenge because the national loan structure that we participate in doesn't tend to look at that. It's a unique, abnormal lot. So just simply from a personal financing ability, it creates some challenges. Doesn't mean it's not possible, but it does create challenges.
Do we have any more questions? Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, no more questions from Member Jacobs. I have a ton
Okay,
of questions,
definitely
but
sounds.
there's not. I have a ton of questions, but not enough time. I'll find another time.
Well, you can always feel free to contact me directly, and we can talk about it. So
It sounds like it's going to be interesting, especially with it being a ministerial process where basically it sounds like, as you mentioned, checking a box. It is what it is. If the lot's big enough to support it, I can see where in future meetings when these things come up, surrounding homeowners might think that they have a voice that they might not actually have.
yeah, I think that was something that was brought up at the board hearing. I think ultimately the board landed on they thought that it would make that it would be um, you know a good thing to at least notify the CPAC about what's going on in the neighborhood as well as those property owners. But you're right that there could be some expectation on the part of property owners, surrounding property owners, that they have some level of or some recourse that they don't actually have.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. From the rest of the board members, do we have any questions or inputs? I'm guessing no. So if we're ready to move on to the next agenda item, from the county staff, are we ready to do this?
That's perfect. And moving right along to item number 2 is the officer elections.
If you would go ahead and run with this.
Okay, so actually the ball is in the court of the members for someone to make a motion on the chair and vice chair.
So moved.
If I can ask a question, what's the general process for the CPAC? Do we do annual elections on January, and do we have any sort of a practice of rotating roles, or I don't know what the history here is.
This is Alma from the clerk of the board's office. I'm the assistant clerk. And yes, the CPACs each have annual elections, and it's really up to the members to decide who they would like. You can have a discussion about it. You don't have to make a motion before the discussion. You can just discuss, you can just discuss it amongst yourselves first. And then I know member Kammer has been the chair person for quite, I think maybe this year and maybe last year. And so if you would like to discuss it and see who is interested and who would like to serve, that's fine. You can have a discussion, and then after that you would motion. If you want to keep it the same, it's fine too. It's really up to the members to discuss.
Member Jacobs is happy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to chime in that last time I remained as chairman because nobody else was interested in taking over the role. It is very straightforward, very simple. I highly recommend anybody who's interested in it, just put your name out there and for the chair and for the vice chair, and then we can vote.
This is Member Jacobs. I'm happy to be involved in any capacity. So moved by the rest of the committee.
Yeah, this is Member Jansen. I'm likewise happy to help. I'm relatively new to the group, so I was actually hoping one of my takeaways from today would just to be have a mechanism to communicate with the other members, all sensitivities around the Brown Act. But you know, I'm likewise interested in helping out.
Yeah, this is Member Jacobs again. It's kind of awkward to nominate myself for a position, so this is why I made the last statement. I'm hoping if anyone sees me fit to be in any capacity, even general member, I'm okay with that.
I definitely, this is Member Kemmerer. I definitely recommend Member Jacob for the chair position. While I'm at it, Member Jansen for vice chair if he's interested.
This is Member Wilhelm. I second that.
Okay, perfect. It looks like we have a first and a second for motion for chair and vice chair. Member Jacobs as chair and Member Jansen as vice chair. And the motion was made by Member Kemmerer. And I'm so sorry. And then Member Wilhelm made the second. So we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. And Members Jacobs.
So
And it would
moved.
be thank you. Member Kearney,
Aye.
Pristupa, and I'll unmute you, Member Pristupa, and Member Pristupa.
Aye.
Thank you. And Member Piravis Salehi, who is absent, Member Wilhelm,
Aye.
and Member Kammerer.
Aye.
And the motion passes with
I
Member
think you
Piravis Salehi absent.
missed me, Jansen. I'm an aye.
Oh, I apologize. Member Jansen.
That's all right.
Thank you so much. And the motion does pass with Member Piravis Salehi absent.
This is Member Jacobs with a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Okay, as current chair, has there been, and I'm also asking the previous chair, has there ever been times where you had to attend a Board of Supervisors meeting in order to get information or to put input in on a decision?
I never have, but being familiar with some of the board, the CPAC members from the past, I believe that's happened in the past, but in the numerous years that I've been, I haven't.
Okay. Well, I would like to ask the direct officers of the board if you feel that there's a need for me to attend any Board of Suits meetings to gain insight or input. Please let me know as soon as possible. I would take all recommendations seriously and do what I can to fulfill my role.
Okay, perfect. And at your leave, we can move on to item number 3.
Just before we leave that, this is Member Jansen.
Sure.
If I don't think we want to do this publicly and on record, but I don't have a means, except maybe I guess we have email. I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud a little bit of communicating with the fellow members. So do the emails communications you've sent us include the other members on it? I think they're actually unique to each one of us. Just wondering if there's a way.
Member Jansen,
Yes.
this is Alma from the clerk of the board. You can't discuss things via email. You can provide information, but you cannot discuss them. That would be considered a serial meeting. You would need to discuss items at the meetings to have a discussion with the other members. So
Yeah,
that would be,
I appreciate that, and thank you. I'm very familiar with the Brown Act.
yes.
It's not, my purpose here is not to discuss items outside of the public venue. It's just simply, we literally have no way of communicating with each other about anything. And I would have appreciated a little opportunity to have a little discussion on just trying to find out who might be interested, for example, in being an officer before the meeting. But maybe, is there a way you could at least, after the meeting, send me Mr. Jacobs' email and I could kind of leave it back to him?
This is Member Jacobs. I do have a question. Would the Brown Act be violated if a member of the direct from the Board of Soups were there? Hello?
Somebody might be on mute.
Testing. I hear anyone there?
I can hear you.
I can hear you too. I hate these computer meetings.
Okay. This is Lydia with the Clerk of the Board's office. Can you please pose your question once again?
Okay, Lydia, would there be a violation if someone like yourself was present? I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, and
Now
the
I
assistant.
can.
There we
Sorry.
go.
Yeah, I had a problem a moment ago as well. I was knocked off unexpectedly. I thought the whole call dropped, but I was able to get back on after 1 minute. But just a quick question. Would the act that was just mentioned be violated if the clerk of the board were present at the meeting?
No, see, it would have to be an agendized meeting. You
Got
have to
it.
put it on the agenda and discuss it on the agenda. And I just wanted to kind of address Member Jansen's question about the officer elections. You have every right to continue an officer election or anything else that might be just, that you have annually to the next meeting. You could have, instead of, if you wanted to decide and discuss it today amongst yourselves and then continue the item to the next meeting whenever you do have a meeting, then you could have done that and instead of voting tonight. Just so you know in the future that you could have just discussed it and said, we'll just table this or continue it to the next meeting and then make that selection at the next meeting.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Still, my main point is I have no way of communicating with my fellow members right now at all. So because I don't have, maybe some of the members do know each other personally, but I don't. And even in any other public body, we would have at least the opportunity to trade business cards at a meeting and have a means of communicating about various matters. Again, with all the appropriate sensitivities to the Brown Act.
Yes, I'll have Rochelle send you the roster for the Antelope CPAC, and then you'll have everybody's contact information.
Thank you. That'd be great.
I'll have her send it to all the members so that you all have each other's contact information.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
And
With that,
go
are
ahead,
we able to
please.
move on to the next item? Are we able to move on to the next item with the staff updates?
Okay, for staff updates, this is Chris Pahuli again. I have two things that I wanted to mention to you. One, just to bring up, since you all were asking questions about the chair attendance at board hearings and so forth. Did want to mention, in case members didn't know, that occasionally the CPAC will file a community interest appeal. I don't know that the Antelope CPAC has done one of those recently, but in those instances when an item is appealed by the CPAC, there is the expectation that either the chair or a member of the CPAC represents at the appeal hearing the interest of the community, given that the appeal that's filed is a community interest appeal. So just wanted to mention that in case members didn't know that if an appeal is filed, that it would be a responsibility for a CPAC member, and typically it is the chair that would attend that hearing. So just wanted to mention that, and that's somewhat relevant given the next update that I had. I wanted to let you all know, and I know it's been some time since the CPAC considered the item, but the cargo container project, the Haygood cargo container project, that's single family property owner off of Alberta, just west of Watt Avenue. That project is making its way to the zoning administrator for hearing on January 19th. That they have already filed an appeal. That project will go to the Board of Zoning Appeals after the zoning administrator makes a final decision on the 19th. For that item, the CPAC did recommend denial of the special development permit for the cargo containers. That's what staff is recommending, and I believe that's what the zoning administrator will ultimately decide. And so there is no immediate action needed on behalf of the CPAC, but just wanted to keep you updated on that one as it works its way through. And that's all that I have.
Thank you.
Is there any council member comments that anyone wants to add in as we're moving on to item number 4 on the agenda?
I don't know if I have an opportunity before we adjourn, but just want to say thanks to the staff for the presentations and the feedback here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, dittos with that. They're definitely a big help. There is no public, as far as I'm aware, on this line, so I'm assuming we have no public comments.
Yeah, there were no public comments for any of the items on this evening's agenda.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to introduce a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Happy New Year, everyone.
All right. Happy New Year. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you much.